Hi, my name is Tiger Donovan. I'm the Associate Head of School of Engineering and Physical Sciences at Heriot-Watt University in Dubai. And today we're here in the Sustainable City, and we're going to talk a little bit about the role that engineers have in providing a sustainable future for everybody. And there's no better example than the Sustainable City. So come with me as we take a bit of a walk through the Sustainable City. I'll try to point out some of the sustainable features and how engineers can contribute to better design to deliver a sustainable future for everybody. So as we walk through here, hi Alicia.
Hi.
Did I pronounce that right? So the first thing we notice as we come through the entrance to Sustainable City is just how cool it is. And it's designed to be shaded and kept much cooler than it is just outside the walls there. Important to Sustainable City is, well, education, right? You know, it is an example of how we can be sustainable. So to show that off to everybody is really, really important.
I mean, it is so cool here.
It's lovely, isn't it?
A minute ago we
I know.
out there in
Yeah.
the sun
And
you can
that-
actually feel it.
And that doesn't happen by chance, right? That is sustainable engineering design.
Yeah.
So as we go through here, you'll see, even just by looking on the ground here, they've highlighted the Sustainable Development Goals. This one in particular, number 4 of the SDGs, the UN SDGs, is number 4 is the quality education. So important to delivering, you know, a sustainable future for everybody.
So where exactly are people staying here?
So we're about to walk into the main plaza here, and this is the kind of the social center to Sustainable City. We'll have a look at the map, but mostly there's about a population of about 2,500 here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 500 villas I think it is, and they're distributed over 5 clusters. We'll have a look at that later, but as we come into this social center, it is designed to be, well, quite an active zone, a place that's very comfortable for outdoor living, even in the hot months of the summer. So as we walk into the main plaza here, again, it's very bright and open, and it has this very impressive plaza area here. We're going to take a walk down, and I'll point out just a couple of the really, you know, the designed sustainable features that make this such a comfortable place to socialize. So there's one person keeping very cool in the sun. So this plaza here is still a lot cooler than what you'd expect if it wasn't here. So as we pan around, all of these wind towers are there to catch the air from above and bring it down and into this hollow here. It can pick up a little bit of moisture here, which again drops the ambient temperature by a few degrees, and it generally makes a very comfortable place for people to meet, socialize, have a coffee, whatever. So why is that important? I mean, it's interesting, you know, from an engineering design perspective, why is that important? I think it's important because creating communities and centers like this, which are less dependent on perhaps driving your car or going someplace. Yeah. This center here is a place where people can come without getting into their cars. You know, they're able to socialize.
There are no cars around
here.
here.
No cars around here, which is again one of the biggest sustainability issues or design features of the sustainable city, reducing our reliance on well, fossil fuels, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're able to get into the office now and take a look at an overview of the sustainable city from on high. So let's scooch through here. So as we enter into the office here, we're going to see a big 3D map, essentially a model of the sustainability from on high. Come on in. So here is Sustainable City in all its glory. What you'll see are 5 different clusters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where the vast majority of people live. There are some apartments down the main plaza where we are right now as well. A unique feature of Sustainable City is this farm here. So this farm, which has 11 biodomes, is used to grow vegetables and grow herbs and things that, you know, the community actually use. But what's really good about this is that the water produced from here is essentially recycled water. So the wastewater that we have from all these villas is pumped to the top of the farm here and eventually makes its way down there, getting purified as we go. Another thing that we'll take a look at as we go along the tour will be the car parks, essentially. So these are some of the car parks here. So we say it's a car-free city. So when people enter the city, they park up their cars under these hoardings, and they're shadings, but they are shaded by solar panels. So they're generating all this electricity that will be later used, and essentially it reduces energy bills in all of these domestic dwellings by about 50%. So again, a huge sustainability factor there integrated into how we live. School here and innovation center also important to some of the other factors that really help sustainable design, and that is obviously human factors. How do we in society adapt so that we can all live a little bit more sustainably? Let's talk a bit more of that as we walk through the rest of the plaza. You just do the door. Okay, so we just had an overview there of the city, and now we're going to walk through to some of the other aspects to sustainable city. One of them I've mentioned already is transport. So if you were to take, say, the fact that so many people can effectively walk around this community, there's less reliance on the car. We have kids on bicycles, people walking places, are very
really
active.
Nice to see,
It really, please.
I mean, you don't really see children doing, outside that much, or you don't really see people on bikes as much.
And every time you see a car, somebody walking or running or pushing a buggy or on a bike, it means they're not burning fuel in their car. They're still getting around the community. They're still socializing. They're still, doing it in a very sustainable and less energy intensive way. So we're coming through the city now, and as we point to the left, you'll see, hey, we'll catch that in a second. As we look to the left here, we see Fairgreen International School. Now this is a really cool school because again it has this kind of ethos about sustainability.
Is it part of the community?
It's part of the city, yeah. And kids in there learn about sustainability from such a young age. So it's not something they have to adapt to. It's something that they, when they, finish school and maybe come to university, they're already very familiar with sustainability and how sustainability can be achieved without necessarily reducing or compromising quality of life. So if you come with me, we'll just very quickly walk into one of the car parks that I pointed to on the map. Exactly that, right? So as soon as you come home, let's say, into the sustainable city, you'll park your car under these solar panels, and you can see they extend the whole way down. This is a little mini power plant, right? It's generating electricity for the community. And what you'll see if you pan across to the right would be some of the electric vehicles, from the Renault Twizy down there on the left-hand side to these Tesla down here as well. So these obviously helping people to be sustainable, even when they're not necessarily in the sustainable city. And electric vehicles also have a really important role in integrating renewables into society, right? Because as we know, most renewable energy is intermittent, whether it's wind and the wind doesn't always blow, or if it's sun and the sun doesn't always shine. We still need energy all the time. So electric vehicles essentially become battery storage, don't they? So we're able to charge our cars when we have excess of energy, and then we can drive or use that energy at a later stage. Storage will be key to the integration of renewables and a sustainable future.
So how do the residents move around then?
Well, let's take a look at that. So we go through here, and hopefully I'll give you an example of how residents get around. So here's one example of an electric vehicle. It's a golf buggy. So all residents have access to an electric vehicle that is charged by these solar panels. So we're going to hop up now.
Hop up onto one.
Onto one. We're going to go. Should I go in front?
Yeah.
And we'll take a look around the sustainable city. So if you continue straight down the road here. I mean, the first thing you'll probably notice is how many people are just about enjoying the community.
Yeah.
It's something that perhaps doesn't happen as much. There's less reliance on going to an air-conditioned mall or anything like that, so it's just outdoor living.
And it's so nice to see so much of greenery here.
Absolutely. So if we go straight down the road here, straight down, go straight down, yeah. We'll see as we go around, well, what I pointed to earlier, which is part of the water purification system. So all the water that is wastewater from your domestic dwelling is separated into well, let's say a grey stream and a black stream, and I won't go into the difference between the two, but suffice to say the grey stream of water is easily recycled. It's pumped to the top of the farm, where it begins its purification process, and then it finds its way down through the farm as it's becoming purified and becoming ready again for potable water. Yeah, and at the same time that water is then used to, and maybe if we could just stop here, it's then also used for growing plants, herbs, spices, that type of thing. So let's take a quick look into one of these domes. I'm hoping it's open. If it's not open, this is going to go bust. Let's take a look. Excellent. You can, come on in. So here's one of the biodomes. I know, the smell is great, isn't it? So you're going to get a lot of basil and a lot of herbs and different spices here. These are free for the community to take and to use. And again, it's a sustainable feature because all of these grew on the wastewater and water is so energy intensive. So we need to, as engineers, be aware of, where the energy goes and how we can best use it, how we can best recycle that energy as we go. So that's a really good question, because this is a really cool environment. It looks like a greenhouse, right? But it's actually much, much cooler than it is outside. And it's through these, if we just take a pan around, it's through these areas here where they drip some water down through, and then on the other side where they pull the air through, so they create this pressure gradient, dragging air in through these vents, pushing it out there, cooling the air down through the water as they go. It's a very low energy solution to air conditioning, and it keeps this environment perfect for growing fruit and veg, even tomatoes, as you can see over here.
It's cool, but it's not
No,
super cool.
absolutely, which is a really good temp. Absolutely. So it works really, really well. I saw there you were panning into some of the hydroponics. Again, look at this in terms of sustainability. The waste product from these fish is obviously used as fertilizer for growing vegetables. Or in this case, I can see some basil there and some lettuce. And you can see how well it's growing in that environment, right? This partly, essentially it's a closed system, so we put some air through it just to make sure that bubbling up through, keeping those fish alive, obviously. But then, obviously, the waste product that the fish create, let's say, is then used essentially as fertilizer to keep all these plants and make them to grow really, really well. So let's continue on. It's just one of the features that are designed into how people live here in Sustainable City. Let's see if it goes up. So if we just pan straight down here, you'll see another wind tower there, and that there is in the center of cluster number 1. Okay. And what it does is it drags air down, just as it did in the main plaza, it drags air down into the middle of the cluster. Yeah. And there's a little water puddle that's kept wet throughout the season, and then air will come down, hit that water puddle, and go down through the streets, just dropping the temperature in the city a few degrees to make it a lot more, comfortable for living.
All these villas have solar panels?
Absolutely. So all villas have, and if we can we just pan up? Can we take a quick look at one of the villas from the outside? You'll see on their third floor, on their balcony floor, there's this shading, right? So that creates, again, a nice environment for kids to be playing or just to socialize. But the shading is provided by the panels, and that reduces the energy requirement of the villa by about 50%.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I know. So it's when it's doing a dual purpose, it makes it really, really energy and even economically efficient, or really economically attractive.
Have you been sustainable inside the villas?
Partly that's got to do, if we want to hop in, how to be sustainable. Well, partly it's got to do with education. It's kind of signing up to an ethos, and we drive straight down. So it's if you've decided to live here, I guess you already have a sustainability thing going, or you're already somewhat aware of it. And you will find people, you know, they're just that much more conscious about, you know, not using, you know, single-use plastics, and there's, you know, lots of little initiatives that have happened in the community since its inception, like these bags that people make from recycled materials that they would bring down to the local shop to do the shopping, then return them. So all of those are little environmental or sustainable features that just make people look a little bit more sustainable. So if we look here on the left-hand side, if we just pause there, you'll see this is most people, or all people, here, stop here, we'll just pop out really quickly, have some separated waste. So every villa will have 5 different places to put their waste, separating it into paper and cardboard, plastic, general waste, metal and glass, so that it's all ready and able to recycle.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing obviously in the first instance would be to reduce, but if you can't reduce, then can you recycle? And it just keeps that understanding that sustainability is really important to everything that we do.
Is that even in this weather, there's so much greenery that's still so green. So does this have something to do with the recycled water?
It certainly has. I mean, so if you were to, you know, you will see a lot of greenery around the UAE, but sometimes perhaps it's not the most sustainable thing to have greenery, because you know, you have to use water that has been purified for it. If, however, you're using the wastewater that otherwise you'd be dumping in the city, then it has the double whammy of making sure you have this, you know, wastewater producing these nice environments for people. So you can see the the water that is wasted, as I said, goes to the top of the cluster, the top of the city up there, into the first initial treatment, and when it's safe, then it's released, and it kind of flows down through this river that you'll see here. Down to the bottom environment, and that obviously is keeping the water table that little bit higher, meaning that all this grass and all this foliage is naturally irrigated, and and creating these really nice environments for people to live in. Okay, so Febin, when we're ready, we can head straight down the way here. And yeah, let's keep going till, let's see. And while it might seem like a bad thing to leave your car a long way from your villa, that doesn't really happen, because these community has been designed to have these car parks that kind of come into the community where you can drop your car, so you're never too far away from your villa or from your accommodation.
Yeah, I mean, it encourages people to walk a little more.
That's true too. We're not necessarily being as sustainable as we could be. We should be walking in, and we will. We're going to take a turn in a few minutes, and we'll leave this to its side. But continue down for now, Kevin. So I guess this is a good time to kind of discuss a little bit about the role of, you know, what do engineers do, or why study engineering? And it's kind of irrespective of the type of engineering that you want to do, whether that's mechanical, chemical, electrical, energy, robotics. Any of those, they all have a sustainability part to them, right? So, and it's not just a part to them, it's actually a responsibility now that sustainability must be in all design that we do. So if we take a right here, yeah, and straight the way down to the tower there. So instead of it, if you were interested, for example, in working in sustainability and to try to deliver a more sustainable environment for society, for everybody, then engineering is a really good option. And it's more than just studying sustainability or studying it because it's part of the curriculum. It's like a responsibility now for engineers. If you're going to design a solution, it's very important that that solution has a sustainability. Yeah, absolutely. That sustainability is from the core, and it's something that is obviously core to all the degree programs in Heriot-Watt University. We do sustainability and business awareness as, you know, core to our curriculum. So I think we can stop here, Fabian. And we'll just pop out and point out another couple of things. Yeah, so as I was saying, it's core to the curriculum. So if we take engineers, what is an engineer? So an engineer is probably a problem solver. That's probably what you're going to say. And most people probably think towards the technical, the physics or the chemistry and how you apply that science to maybe developing a new technology. And true, yes, that's part of what it is. But the modern engineer now is actually more cognizant of external factors. Definitely. So how is the user going to use it? You know, how do you create an environment like this that people naturally want to use it in a sustainable way?
And also we are entering an age where everyone wants the sustainability aspect
Absolutely.
in almost everything they do. I mean,
And that's
from
really,
the smallest things.
Yeah. So if you're going to come up with a sustainable energy design, let's say,
Yeah.
it needs to be marketable, right? The green economy is a market that's out there
Definitely,
now.
a huge market.
And an engineer that can design sustainably will open up new markets and do that. And as I said, the engineer won't just come up with a tech solution now. They'll have to be cognizant of the market, have to be cognizant of the economics. What's the point in having an excellent solution if that solution isn't economically viable? It won't get off the ground. So those are all the factors that are now influencing more and more what engineers do in the future, and that obviously is core to our curriculum like that. So I'll leave you in a couple of minutes now. I just want to point out a couple more things. Here we are in the center of one of the clusters. It's again a lovely little environment. It means that people can, as you pan around, walk around, come down to a center, have some recreational zones, enjoy the area they have, and then reduce their reliance on public transport even that's burning fossil fuels, or reduce their reliance on their cars. And all of that comes together. And it doesn't happen by chance, right? It is engineers that are key to this.
There is engineering in every aspect of this place, and that's
Absolutely.
the most interesting bit.
That I couldn't agree more. And the fact that engineers are working with social scientists to deliver environments that are naturally and able to deliver a sustainable future without, you know, compromising the quality of life, because the quality of life here, as you've probably seen just by panning around here, is quite high.
Yeah.
So I think I'll wrap it up at that point, unless there's anything else.
I'm really good. I mean, as a final thing,
Yes.
I mean, how important would you say is the sustain? I mean, I know you've said so much about it within this place, but in general, I mean, how important is it to incorporate
Absolutely. So
sustainability?
it goes without saying that sustainability is important. Obviously, there's huge challenges of sustainability facing us in society today.
Yeah.
Just the idea that we need to reduce our carbon footprints in everything we do. Engineers play such a pivotal role in doing that, developing the new technologies, integrating those new technologies and systems, and making them, you know, easy for people to use. If we can create an environment, if we can create technology, for example, whether it's robotics or through artificial intelligence, or whether it's through mechanical, chemical, electrical, whatever your field of interest, if you can do that, you can maintain high quality of life in a sustainable way. And that is the real challenge for engineers of today. So if you're interested at all in engineering, obviously, rise to that challenge, see it as a challenge, see it as an opportunity to really make a lasting impact. And going to wrap it up at that stage. So if you do have any questions about anything we've said today, we're going to be doing more of these podcasts. Leave a message below, and we'll be happy to get back to you and interact in the future. Anything else?
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us.